You think when a woman pulls closer, it means she's interested, and when she pulls away, it means she's done. But what if I told you that some of the most telling signs she's afraid of losing you look nothing like neediness, nothing like chasing, and everything like control? You've been reading the signals backwards, and that confusion is costing you your peace, your power, and your ability to see what's actually happening right in front of you. Here's the truth most men never get told. When a woman is genuinely afraid of losing you, she doesn't beg, she doesn't plead, she doesn't fall apart in your arms and ask you to stay. That's not how fear operates in someone who's used to being chosen, someone who's used to being the prize, someone who's suddenly realized the man in front of her isn't like the others. Fear in a woman who's losing her grip doesn't look like weakness. It looks like strategy. It looks like testing. It looks like she's trying to secure you without ever admitting she needs to. And if you don't know how to read it, you'll think she's losing interest when she's actually terrified you're slipping away. Before we go further, do yourself a favor and subscribe to this channel right now. Not because I need you to, because you need the reminder. You need the truth on repeat. You need a place that doesn't sugarcoat what's happening in your relationships, your mind, and your life. Hit that button. You'll thank yourself 6 months from now when you look back and realize how much has changed because you stayed plugged into clarity instead of confusion. Now, let's break this down. You've been conditioned to believe that a woman who's afraid of losing you will cling, that she'll text more, call more, show up more. And sure, some women do that. But the ones who are actually high value, the ones who have options, the ones who are used to men chasing them, they don't operate that way. When they feel you slipping, when they sense you're not as locked in as you used to be, when they realize you've stopped trying to impress them, something shifts. They don't panic outwardly, they panic inwardly. And that internal panic translates into behavior that most men completely misread. Let's start with the first sign. She starts initiating more, but with an edge. She's reaching out, but it's not warm. It's not soft. It's calculated. She's testing your availability. She's checking your temperature. She'll send a message that seems casual, but it's loaded. You busy? You still around? Haven't heard from you. On the surface, it looks like she's just making conversation. But underneath, she's measuring. She's assessing whether you're still invested, whether you're still thinking about her, whether you've started to move on. And here's the kicker. If you respond too eagerly, she'll pull back. If you don't respond at all, she'll double down. Why? Because she's not actually trying to connect. She's trying to confirm that she still has your attention. That's called reassurance seeking, disguised as engagement. And if you don't see it for what it is, you'll either overinvest and lose her respect or underinvest and confirm her fears without ever knowing what game you were playing. Here's what's really happening. She's afraid, but she's not afraid of being alone. She's afraid of losing the man who stopped needing her validation. She's afraid of losing the man who's no longer trying to win her over. She's afraid because for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, she's with someone who doesn't revolve around her moods, her approval, her schedule. And that scares her because if you don't need her, she has to earn you. And earning you means risk. It means vulnerability. It means she might fail. So instead of leaning into that vulnerability, she tests, she pokes, she measures, she initiates contact, not to build intimacy, but to confirm control. And the moment you recognize that, everything changes. You stop reacting. You stop performing. You respond when it's genuine, and you don't when it's not. And that by itself will tell you everything you need to know. Second sign. She starts bringing up other men subtly, casually, almost like it's nothing. A co-worker who complimented her. An ex who reached out. A guy at the gym who asked for her number. She's not bragging. She's not flirting. She's planting seeds. She wants to see how you react. She wants to know if you'll get jealous, if you'll tighten your grip, if you'll fight for her. But here's the trap. If you react emotionally, you lose. If you get defensive, possessive, insecure, she'll see it as weakness. She'll see it as proof that you're not the man she thought you were. And if you don't react at all, if you stay calm, unbothered, grounded, that terrifies her even more because now she knows you're not playing the game. Now she knows you're not moved by tactics. Now she knows that her power over you is fading. And that fear will either push her away or pull her closer. But either way, it reveals the truth. Let's be clear. A woman who's secure doesn't bring up other men to test you. A woman who's confident in the relationship doesn't need to manufacture competition. But a woman who's afraid of losing you, who's starting to realize you're not like the rest, who's sensing that you have options, standards, boundaries, she'll try to trigger your scarcity mindset. She'll try to remind you that she's desired. She'll try to make you feel like you need to compete. And if you fall for it, you hand her the frame. You hand her the power. You hand her the proof that you're still operating from a place of fear, not abundance. But if you see it, if you name it internally, if you stay rooted in your own value, you don't have to say a word. Your lack of reaction is the message. And that message is louder than any comeback you could ever deliver. Third sign, she starts criticizing small things. Your clothes, your plans, the way you text, the way you spend your time. It's not overt. It's not mean. It's just persistent little jabs, little corrections, little ways of asserting that she knows better, that she's evaluating you, that she's the standard you need to meet. And most men internalize this. Most men start questioning themselves. Am I not good enough? Am I doing something wrong? Should I change? No. What's happening is she's trying to regain control by repositioning herself as the authority. She's trying to make you seek her approval again. She's trying to reverse the dynamic because somewhere along the way, you stopped seeking her approval, and that shift terrified her. So, she criticizes, she nitpicks, she reframes you as the one who needs to improve. And if you bite, if you start defending yourself, explaining yourself, changing yourself to meet her standards, you've lost. You've handed her the frame. You've confirmed that her opinion of you matters more than your opinion of yourself. Here's the root cause. She's not criticizing you because you're lacking. She's criticizing you because she's insecure. She's afraid that if she doesn't establish dominance, if she doesn't remind you that she's the prize, you'll realize your own value and walk. That's the fear. That's the core. She's not trying to help you become better. She's trying to keep you smaller. So you stay. And the moment you see that, the moment you understand that her criticism is about her fear, not your inadequacy, you stop taking it personally. You stop adjusting. You stop performing. You stay grounded in who you are, and you let her words fall flat. And when they do, when she realizes her tactics aren't working, she'll either escalate or soften, and both responses will tell you exactly where she stands. Fourth sign, she starts giving you more access, more time, more availability, but it doesn't feel like generosity. It feels like strategy. She's suddenly free when she used to be busy. She's suddenly flexible when she used to have a packed schedule. She's suddenly agreeable when she used to push back. And on the surface, you'd think this is a good thing. You'd think she's finally investing. But look closer. Is she giving you access because she wants to build with you, or because she's afraid of what happens if she doesn't? Is she making time for you because she values you, or because she's scared you'll make time for someone else? There's a difference. And that difference is everything. When a woman gives you more access out of fear, it's not sustainable. It's not rooted in genuine desire. It's rooted in scarcity. It's rooted in the belief that if she doesn't lock you in now, she'll lose you. And the moment she feels secure again, the moment she thinks you're hooked, that access will shrink. She'll pull back. She'll get busy again. She'll revert to the version of herself that kept you chasing. Because the access was never about connection. It was about control. It was about keeping you close long enough to regain her footing. And if you mistake that for love, for commitment, for investment, you'll end up confused 6 months from now when she's distant again, and you can't figure out what changed. Here's what you need to understand. Genuine investment doesn't fluctuate based on fear. Genuine investment is consistent. It's rooted in choice, not anxiety. It's rooted in, I want to be here, not I'm afraid of what happens if I'm not. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll accept behavior that looks like love, but feels like strategy. You'll accept intimacy that's conditional. You'll accept presence that's transactional. And you'll wonder why it never feels solid, why it never feels safe, why you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is why. Because you're mistaking fear-driven access for genuine connection, and they are not the same. Fifth sign, she starts asking about your future, your plans, your goals, where you see yourself, where you see the relationship. But it's not curiosity, it's interrogation. She's not asking because she wants to dream with you. She's asking because she wants to assess whether she's in the picture. She wants to know if you're building a life that includes her or a life that you're preparing to walk into alone. And the way she asks will tell you everything. If it's soft, open, exploratory, that's genuine interest. But if it's tense, loaded, testing, that's fear. That's her trying to figure out if she's losing you before it's too late. And here's where most men stumble. They either overshare to reassure her, or they shut down to protect themselves. Both are reactions. Both are fear-based. Both hand her the frame, the right move. Answer honestly, but without trying to convince her of anything. If she's in your future, you'll know. If she's not, you'll know. But you don't owe her a performance. You don't owe her a script that makes her feel safe at the expense of your truth. You owe her clarity. You owe yourself clarity. And clarity doesn't sound like reassurance. Clarity sounds like truth. And truth doesn't need to be dressed up. It just needs to be spoken. What does all of this cost you if you don't see it? It costs you your frame. It costs you your peace. It costs you the ability to lead your own life because you're too busy managing her emotions, reacting to her tests, trying to decode her behavior instead of simply living in your own truth. You end up in a relationship where you're constantly adjusting, performing, proving, defending, and that's exhausting. That's not partnership. That's performance. And performance is not sustainable. It's not real. It's not love. It's a transaction. And the moment you stop performing, the moment you stop meeting the invisible standards she set, the whole thing falls apart. Not because you failed, but because it was never built on anything solid to begin with. So, what's the reframe? Stop trying to manage her fear. Stop trying to prove you're worth keeping. Stop trying to decode whether she's interested or afraid or testing or genuine. Just be clear, be grounded, be consistent. Be the man who doesn't need her to validate him. Be the man who isn't moved by tactics. Be the man who sees the game and chooses not to play it, not because you don't care, but because you care more about your peace than her approval. You care more about truth than performance. You care more about building something real than managing something fragile. Here's who that man looks like. He wakes up with purpose, not because he's trying to impress anyone, but because his life has meaning that exists independent of her presence. He's building something, a business, a craft, a body, a mind, a legacy. And she's welcome to be part of it, but she's not the center of it. He doesn't text her all day looking for validation. He doesn't rearrange his schedule to prove he's available. He doesn't react when she brings up other men. He doesn't flinch when she criticizes. He doesn't perform when she tests. He just exists in his own frame, grounded in his own value, moving toward his own vision. And that presence, that unshakable presence, is more attractive than any word he could ever say. He sets boundaries not to punish her, but to protect his peace. He says no when no is the truth. He says yes when yes is the truth. He doesn't explain. He doesn't defend. He doesn't justify. He just states what is. And if she pushes, if she tests, if she tries to guilt him into changing his mind, he doesn't engage. He repeats himself once calmly, and then he moves on because he knows that a woman who respects him will respect his boundaries. And a woman who doesn't respect his boundaries doesn't respect him. And he'd rather be alone than tolerated. He doesn't chase reassurance. He doesn't ask if she still likes him. He doesn't monitor her social media. He doesn't analyze her texts. He doesn't track her moods. He gives her space to be human. He gives himself space to be human. He trusts that if it's real, it'll show up consistently. And if it's not, it'll reveal itself eventually. And either way, he'll be fine because his worth isn't tied to whether she stays or goes. His worth is tied to how he shows up for himself. And that's something no one can take from him. He communicates directly. He doesn't hint. He doesn't play games. He doesn't mirror her energy to make a point. He says what he means. He means what he says, and if there's tension, he addresses it. Not to fix her, not to control the outcome, but to create clarity. Because clarity, even when it's uncomfortable, is better than confusion. Clarity builds trust. Confusion builds resentment, and he's not interested in resentment. He's interested in reality, and reality requires honesty. He walks away when it's time, not because he's cold, not because he doesn't care, but because he respects himself too much to stay where he's not valued. He doesn't issue ultimatums. He doesn't threaten to leave to get her to change. He just observes. He pays attention. He notices patterns. And when those patterns consistently show him that he's being tested instead of loved, that he's being managed instead of chosen, that he's being tolerated instead of celebrated, he leaves quietly, firmly, permanently, because he knows that the right woman won't make him question his value. The right woman will reflect it back to him, and anything less than that is a waste of his time. So what do you do with all of this? You stop reacting. You stop trying to figure out if she's afraid or interested or testing or genuine. You stop making her behavior the center of your emotional world. You redirect all of that energy back into yourself. You build, you train, you read, you create. You become the kind of man who doesn't have time to decode mixed signals because he's too busy living a life that actually matters. And when you do that, when you stop performing and start being, something shifts. The right people move closer, the wrong people move away, and you stop caring which is which because you're finally at peace with who you are. Here's the truth they won't tell you. You are the answer. You are the solution. Not her behavior, not her fear, not her approval. You, your clarity, your boundaries, your presence, your purpose. When you own that, when you stop outsourcing your worth to someone else's response, you become untouchable, not arrogant, not cold, not detached, just grounded, solid, whole. And that energy, that frequency attracts alignment. It repels dysfunction. It creates space for real love to show up. Not transactional love, not performance-based love, not fear-driven love. Real love, the kind that doesn't need to be tested, the kind that doesn't need to be proven, the kind that just is. Now subscribe if you haven't already, because this is just the beginning. There's more truth coming, more clarity, more tools, more breakdowns of the games people play and the frames they try to impose and the ways you can stay grounded in the middle of all of it. You're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready to see things differently. You're ready to stop reacting and start leading. You're ready to reclaim your power. And that's exactly what this channel is for. So lock in, stay plugged in, and let's keep building. You're not alone in this. There's a whole community of men waking up to the same realizations, asking the same questions, doing the same work. You're part of something bigger. And the more you show up for yourself, the more you show up for all of us. So take this with you, apply it, test it, live it, and watch how everything changes when you stop trying to be enough for someone else and start being enough for yourself. That's where the power is. That's where the peace is. That's where the truth is. And that's where you've been headed all along.